he then basically like was gathering intelligence to then tell the prison camp and the interrogators what it was that was impacting you most so they could do it more to you.
Exactly, that what happened there, because the things we used to tell them, it turned against us.
Wow.
I mean, if true, that's like, Trump's really f***ed up. He's a super f***ed up dude, but I mean, that one is not in his rap sheet of all the horrible things that he's done in his life, and he's done a lot of horrible things, but like, straight up doing research on people to find out the most effective ways to torture them and then laughing at that torture. If true, that's pretty horrifying, you know? We gotta talk about a fucked up serious story, because I don't think a lot of people know about DeSantis, and how fucked up he is.
This is from the Empire Files. We're going to watch this. Eyewitness accounts of Mansour Adayfi. Ron DeSantis smiled and laughed while watching his torture at Guantanamo. The human rights lawyer used his position to help maximize impact of torture on detainees. So, what they're alleging here is that Ron DeSantis oversaw torture. Long story short. So let's watch this. I was waiting to watch this until I got on this this stream here. But let's watch.
Big assertion.
You know, as you know, Guantanamo, Mike, it was created out of the legal zone, out of the legal system, out of the humanity base. Torture was the mechanism of Guantanamo. Torture, abuse, and experimenting on prisoners at Guantanamo. We went on a massive hunger strike in 2005. And was like over
watching a video to watch a video. I know, it's a streamception. We got like multiple layers going down.
500 prisoners participated in the hunger strike. And at that time, the only way to calm us down were they told us, okay, we are going to talk to listen to your need. We believed them that they would negotiate and talk to us. And we told them that's what we need, you know. But it was a trap, basically. It was a trap. I mean, everything turned upside down. So we went again on hunger strike. We were on force feeding. You know, it was torture. We were bleeding all the time. And I saw a fucking handsome person who was coming. He said, I'm here.
I've never heard him described that way.
to ensure that you're treating humanely. And we said, okay, this is our demand. You know, we were not asking for much, you know. At the beginning, he was just...
It was Ron DeSantis.
Yes, exactly. The person.
He said, I'm here to ensure you're being treated humanely.
Yes, exactly. And if you have any problems, if you have any concerns, just talk to me. And you know,
wow,
we were drowning at that place. I'm like, oh, this is cool. That person actually writing something. He will raise the concerns, but it was piece of the game. What they were doing, they were looking what's hurt you more to use it against you. By the end of 2005, 2006, when he was there. One of the worst.
That's so fucked up. Oh man, under the guise of like, oh, don't worry, those people out there, yeah, they're the bad guys. They're the bad torturers, but not me. I'm your friend. I'm the good guy. So hey, friend, what's really bugging you? What of all the techniques that they've been using is too much? I want to make sure you're treated humanely. And then the person's like, well, I really wish that you weren't like waterboarding me. It makes me want to die. It's like, okay, good. So we know which ones to use now. Fucking, that's like evil, twisted shit.
Time at Guantanamo, literally. And they cracked on us so hard.
Yeah, good
when
torture,
they came to break our hunger strike, when we went again on force feeding. I swear by my God, Mike, they brought, you know, piles of ensure, and they start force feeding us over and over again. And Ron DeSantis was there and watching us. We were crying, screaming. We were tied to the feeding chair, and that guy, he was watching that, he was laughing, basically. It was hurt like hell. And I was...
Okay, let me just pause it right there.
Wow.
So this is the image depicting them being force-fed in shore. And let me just go back to make sure that I'm hearing this right.
Chair, and that guy, he was watching that, he was laughing, basically.
Ron DeSantis was laughing at torture. That's seriously what he's alleging here. Now, knowing what we know now about Ron DeSantis, this is absolutely...
If that's true, it also would really explain the whole fucking he has no care for like humanity, humans, and just like, hey, I can use human beings and traffic them for political points. That would line up a lot with this whole thing, you know, the laughing at the torture thing.
Believable.
Watches and laughs.
He is sick, he's sadistic, and he very clearly loves to see other people suffer. Marginalized people, anyone who is under his control. So I believe him when he says this. And this is scam.
Well, it's also like, you know, it would take you to have a certain kind of tolerance for you to even be able to participate or even witness, you know, mass torture taking place. It's another thing entirely for you to not only witness it, but take joy in it. And while watching it and reinforcing what techniques are the worst and reinforcing what their greatest fears are, because that was your job, to then laugh at what is taking place. That's a new level of depravity.
Scandalous. But I haven't heard a single mainstream news outlet talk about this. I imagine Trump will use this against DeSantis if he decides to run against him. Possibly, although the problem is that Trump has endorsed torture himself.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. Because, like, he did come out and he spoke out against the Iraq War. And he also really, like, that's one of the reasons that Jeb Bush was so thoroughly destroyed, is that, like, he always had the upper hand, especially amongst, like, the libertarian anti-war conservatives who were just like, yeah, fucking get out of Iraq, brother, all that kind of stuff. Like, that crowd Trump played to and played well. So I don't know if he would necessarily do this in terms of, like, you know, you go after him for the alleged torture laughing.
But perhaps if he wants to try to just throw whatever against the wall and see what sticks, he could use this. But this is really twisted. Like, it confirms that all of the people like myself who called out Ron DeSantis for being a psychopath are absolutely correct. To oversee torture and laugh after telling them that your job is to make sure that they're being treated humanely, that's a level of psychopathic behavior that, like, truly needs to be analyzed. Like, they need to lock him in a padded room and study him, because, like, it doesn't get much worse than that, right? I mean, this is during wartime when we were doing enhanced interrogation, i.e. torture, and even if you have been led to believe that these people who you're holding extrajudicially at Guantanamo Bay are terrorists, still to see a human being suffer.
Yeah.
If your brain isn't broken, that's bad.
And he was actually smiling like as someone who enjoying it when they used to feed us, because our stomach cannot hold this amount of insure. They used to pour insure one can after another. So when he approached me, I said, "This is the way we are treated. You should start to eat." I threw up in his face, literally on his face.
Ron DeSantis.
Based.
In his face, yeah. They used to, restrain us in the feeding chair, which, like 8 point, they tied our heads.
If that is true, that is amazing.
Our shoulder, our wrist, our thighs, and our legs.
Like, just as an act of protest, to be able to puke on Ron DeSantis' face as he's laughing at torturing you.
And they came and they put really thick tube, they call it French 17 or something, through our nose. And they keep doing this over and over again, and they put some kind laxative in the feeding liquid, with like we shit in ourselves all the time.
Jesus Christ.
Then we would be moved to a solitary confinement, really cold cells. If we throw up, and we used to get it like 5 times a day. It wasn't feeding, it was torture. So we couldn't handle it for 5 days. We couldn't, because 5 times a day, you cannot possibly handle it, because they just kept pouring the insure. And in 1 week, they break all the hunger strikers. In 1 week, totally. It was a mission. And he was there. And not just that, they used to also beat us. And if we scream or pain, bleeding came out on our nose and mouth, they would like, eat. The only word they told you, eat, eat, eat. We were beating all day long, all day. There's a team. Whatever you do, they just beat you. Pepper spray, beating, sleep deprivation, that continued for 3 months. And he was...
Let me just pause it there. So DeSantis was there. So DeSantis is someone who is very likely going to announce that he's running for president when he should be behind bars for the rest of his life. Like, he should be at the Hague for overseeing torture.
If true, obviously. I mean, it's one person's testimony, but I don't see why this one person would suddenly have a, let's say, monetary reason or a get famous reason for coming out and lying about all this. But again, it is a testimony. It's one person's testimony. I would be inclined more to believe it simply because of who Ron DeSantis is and the way he operates and the fact that he pretty openly does, you know, kind of fashy things like vilifies and goes after LGBTQ plus people. Also thinks that human beings are political pawns that he can use and traffic them. So he does a little human trafficking, a little human trafficking. We do. All that being said, it does seem like it would line up for a fucking Ron DeSantis to also be someone who laughs at torture in a room full of people screaming from the torture.
Sure. This is a complete violation.
Also because we know all the fucked up stuff that went down in Guantanamo. In addition to all this, like we're well documented amounts of torture that they were doing there, from electrocuting people to sexually assaulting them to making them, pile on top of each other and cover each other in feces and shit like that. Waterboarding, like it was just straight up fucking tons and tons of torture, which is obscenely fucked up. And for like a human being to not only be participating in it but laughing at it, just shows you how they've lost all humanity.
Of human rights, obviously. And it's times like this that I really wish that the United States was a party to the International Criminal Court. Because people like Ron DeSantis shouldn't have further ambitions to get more power. They should be behind bars. Psychopaths like this shouldn't be allowed to run a fucking Taco Bell, let alone a state or a country. And it's genuinely sick that people like this rise to power. And honestly, with our system, he's probably more suited, like better suited to rise up throughout the ranks. Because to make it in American politics, you basically have to be a sociopath. I will never back down from that claim. You have to be so ruthless. You have to not care about the pain that you cause. You have to be somebody who is willing to throw others under the bus. And Ron DeSantis has all those qualities. But he shouldn't be rising through the ranks. He should be at the Hague forever.
Beating, sleep deprivation.
I'm retweeting this just because I think it's a story that deserves a lot more attention, because I haven't really seen this in other parts of the internet or on like other shows. I know Majority Report has talked about it, but I guess maybe Empire Files are a little too left for some mainstream outlets. But I mean, it's a story that I think will be effective for libs as well, because like if they're going to be trying to go after the right, this is like a first-hand testimony of Ron DeSantis being way more fucked up than you previously thought. And I already had Ron DeSantis seems extremely fucked up.
The lawyer whose job it was to ensure you were being treated humanely, then you and other detainees told him the things that were the hardest for you to deal with, the things that you felt needed to change. And then instead of actually making sure those things changed and that your human rights are respected, he then basically was gathering intelligence to then tell the prison camp and the interrogators what it was that was impacting you most so they could do it more to you.
Exactly. That what happened there, because the things we used to tell them, it turned against us. Everything.
Wow.
I mean, if true, that's Trump's really fucked up. He's a super fucked up dude, but I mean, god damn, that one is not in his rap sheet of all the horrible things that he's done in his life, and he's done a lot of horrible things, but like fucking straight up doing research on people to find out the most effective ways to torture them and then laughing at that torture. If true, that's fucking pretty horrifying, you know?
Wow. So Ron DeSantis, according to his testimony, pretended that he was there to make sure they were treated humanely. They confided in him. And Ron DeSantis turns around and uses all of that against them to do more torture. This is a sick son of a bitch. Wow.
I think we talked to him become multiple because he was looking at the impact on you.
Trump doesn't have the stomach for it. He doesn't want to get his hands dirty. Yeah, Trump would fucking hire someone else to do it for him.
Walk around and talk to prisoners.
He would hire Ron DeSantis.
I'm sure you are being treated humanely. I'm telling Americans, if this is humanity, this guy is torturer, is a criminal.
Wow. Unless Trump could make money on it, he wouldn't be interested. Yeah, and again, he'd pay someone else to do it. And he'd probably pay Ron DeSantis to do it, because Ron DeSantis clearly would do it. Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arnie, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tao, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojak, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.